Friday, the 14th of July, 2023. A personal perspective of Brazil. Copacabana, Rio de Janeiro, 23 degrees, warmish and slightly overcast. It is Friday at the end of the working week. Work this week has been relatively light compared to other weeks. I wonder whether this has been because Nalva is traveling, or that just everything has worked relatively well without any drama or confusion. Returning to what I had written before, 2 is good, 3 is a crowd, and remembering the flat is very small, for 1 is perfect, for 2 is okay, but for 3 can be complicated. 3 people in a confined area are similar to 3 rats in the same situation. Eventually, they will start to attack each other. Yasmin was curious if her mother would be returning today or tomorrow. I sent Nalva a message yesterday asking about it, and she confirmed it for today. She said that she would be leaving São Paulo at about 1 p.m, so she should be arriving in Rio and home at about 7 p.m, but because of the traffic, it was after 10 p.m. The main motorway or highway in American English that links São Paulo and Rio is the Via Dutra, and it is not one of the best roads in the world if you consider the amount of heavy traffic that passes through it every day. Being English, I'm used to a motorway having 3 lanes. In the past, when I lived in São Paulo as a consultant, I would return every weekend to see Jessica. At that time, Jessica was only 1 or 2 years old. At that time, most of the Via Dutra was only 1 lane in both directions, which was nothing for the quantity of traffic passing through every day. That was more than 30 years ago. I am confident that many parts of the road have been widened or improved. Still, considering it is one of the most critical roads in Brazil, linking São Paulo and Rio, I do not believe that it has been enhanced to the level it should, considering the amount of traffic and, in comparison, European or American highways. It is also apparent that PT, the newly re-elected Socialist Communist Workers' Party in power, breathes and inseminates a feeling of mediocrity again in Brazil. That mediocrity, more or lessness, is acceptable and okay where it should not be. False promises to the ignorant and blind public with deadlines that are never met from projects that are never finished leave Brazil in a state of abandonment due to the lack of responsibility. Unfinished projects by the government are a form of mediocrity. The lack of transparency and accountability for their actions, and sometimes the actions that should have happened but never happened, is also a form of mediocrity. They exhibit mediocre quality, lack responsibility, and fail to be accountable for their administration. If they have even a fraction of integrity, then they are only interested in controlling and manipulating people within the government to conceal or avoid taking ownership of their incompetence. The term integrity does not appear prominently in Brazilian politics. I came to Brazil more than 30 years ago to establish an office for exporting large yacht production, more specifically super or mega yachts. 30+ meter gin palaces built for the rich and famous, one-off bespoke projects where the cost of skilled labor is an essential factor in the final price, making a country and industry like Brazil extremely competitive. The low competitive labor costs and the solid European culture in the south of Brazil, coupled with a good infrastructure and supply chain for the shipbuilding industry, made everything favorable. Nowadays, I am still determining. For me, the tables have turned for the worse. Brazil, already a heavily bureaucratic country, has become even more so, with the government wanting to shovel in more red tape, making it more difficult for companies to be efficient and agile in an ever-changing market. In terms of infrastructure, the Brazil of 30 years ago is more or less the same today. Very little has been realized in terms of infrastructure, and very little has improved while the demands and the necessities in an ever-growing society have. Brazil is an ever-growing monster that never stops growing, is always hungry, constantly agitated, and always restless, and if you do not feed or calm, it gets nervous and fights. We all live in hierarchical pyramid structures, a country, a company, a family, etc., where the influence from the top goes down through the ranks or layers below, like water going down a mountain. If what comes from the top is good, favorable, and proactive for the rest of us, then it is perfect. Those positive, clear values, actions, and intentions will repeat and flourish through all the other layers. However, if, on the other hand, it is the opposite, the top is rotten, spoilt, corrupt, evil, etc., then it will negatively affect the lower layers. This has happened in Brazil in the past, and it is happening again. We had 16 years of PT, which destroyed the country, and now they are back to do the same again, and if not worse this time. I had always been the first to defend Brazil when someone criticized or spoke badly about the country. I love Brazil. I have a long history and story with Brazil. I have 2 Brazilian daughters here, but am very disappointed in this country. For me, Brazil is terminally sick, and I do not see it getting better, only worse, like any terminal case. Nalva arrived at about 10 p.m. I had already bought and uncorked a bottle of wine, which we finished before bed. In bed by 11:30 p.m. Thank you. Thanks for reading my blog. Check out my other posts and share your thoughts in the comments. Richard. Photos by Richard George Photography.